Okay. Today we're going to start on the bottom of Peites. Peites Hamud Beis. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Yeah, it's about 10 lines, 12 lines from the bottom. Okay, thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. Yeah, no Hashem. In the course of our learning, we should have basic English. Learning the Nishmas. Zava Golda Basra Binyamin, Sanosab Ben Betzian, and for Shlema for Avin David Ben Sarah, and Dali gets a little yes, but I think it's better. Okay, the Gemara says like this: Amar Rav Yehuda Rav. Rav Yehuda same said in the name of Rav. That's the most common 5 words in Shas. Amar Rav Yehuda Rav. Rav Yehuda is a student of Rav.
That's the most common words you said.
Most common 5 words.
Yeah, I know.
So 5. So it says like this: Asala Adam Shiyasha Mida Chasera Yaser B'Teich Beisay. Afilu Havid Shom Meimei Raglayim. A person is not allowed to have a measuring cup in his house that's not the right size, either too big or too small, even if it's being used for urine. Because you may end up using it for some marketing thing. You can't have it in your house. To destroy it. Amar Papa says, that's only in places where your measuring cups don't get stamped by the government that say that it's what do you say they do to the gasoline? They put a sticker on it that says that it was checked. So this is only in places where they don't do that, and that way someone may end up using it. But places where they but places where they stamp the measuring things to show that they're the correct size, someone that doesn't see that it's stamped, it doesn't have a hechsher on it, isn't going to use it. So, okay, then you can have it in your house.
So if it's cold, you don't want to go out and it's cold outside and you use it, do it inside, right?
Right. Well, you can have other things that aren't measuring cups. You're allowed to have a cup, a bowl, a thing, the other things. So now it says, and even those places where it's forbidden, because they don't have stamps there, and so therefore any measuring cup could be used because you don't need a hechsher on it. That's layamar and alad lemahansi. That's only if there's no inspectors that come to compare their cup. Like the clock, the Big Ben. I think they correct other clocks on that. Based on that, at least they used to, I think. But they didn't compare. Aval mahandasi. But if the government comes around and does comparisons to make sure that your measurements are the same, less lamba, then it's not a problem. The Gemara says v'layhi, but this last point is actually not true. The zimnan the mikri bein hashmashas mikri v'shakal. It's possible that it could be bein hashmashas. That probably means bein hashmashas erev Shabbos. Everyone's rushing, and you're going to grab it because it's just in a rush. And you're going to end up stealing, or overcharging, or undercharging something. Okay. It's also taught in a brisa, a person shouldn't have a measuring cup that's too small or too big in his house. Even if it's used as a urine, a toilet. But you can make the following measurements you should make. You can make a sa, which is a container that contains 144 eggs. You can make a tarkev, which is a half a sa, which contains 72 eggs. You can make a chatzi tarkev, which is half a tarkev. What's half of 72? 36, right? 36. And you can make a kav, which is 24. You can make a chatzi kav, which is 12. You can make a reiva, which is a quarter of a kav, which would be 6. You can make a tuman, which is, I think it goes together, tuman and make a tuman. No, a chatzi. This is going to be a half of a quarter. A tuman. This like to do some mix up with some girsais here. Huh? An eighth. An eighth. A tuman would be an eighth. Which is how much is an eighth of a kav? 24 and a kav. 3. Chatzi tuman. That would be a half of an eighth. That would be 1.5 eggs. All this is, I'm giving measurements in eggs. These are different measurements that are acceptable. V'uchla, and I think is an eighth of an eighth. I think that's what it is. Kama ukhla, how much is a no, it can't be an eighth of an eighth. It's
Half of an eighth?
half of an eighth? No, it can't be.
116.
Let's take a look at this.
Quarter lug. Same measurement as a quarter lug. Commonly known as a rupees.
A quarter of a lug is going to be 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 eggs. Yeah. So what's that's a chatzi tuma. That's a half of a tuma. What is the ukhla? Yeah, that's the one before that. Now we need to go to the ukhla. And an ukhla doesn't say what it is exactly. And how much is an ukhla? The Gemara says 1/5 of a quarter kav. Now, 1/5 of a lug, which is the volume of 1 1/5 eggs. That's not half of a. That's not half of 1 1/4. That's not half of 1.5. It's 1 1/5. Okay. Okay. The Rashbam explains that an ukhla is 1/5. It's 1/5 of a lug. Now, a lug, we said, was 6 eggs. So what's 1/5 of 6? The way he puts it, it's 1 1/5. It's 1 1/5. Which how many fifths is that? 6/5. Right? That's the way, that's Rashbam language, math. It's 6/5. So, and how much is the chatzi tuman? Chatzi tuman is 7/5, because 7/5 and a half of it. I'm saying a half. So what's the difference now between a ukhla and a chatzi tuman? Would be 1.5 fifths. Yeah, 1.5 fifths. That's the difference between these two. So 1.5 fifths. Nimtza chatzi tuman yasser luchla chaimesh b'chatzi chaimesh. Okay. So how much bigger is a ukhla than is a chatzi tuman than an ukhla? It's going to be 1/5 bigger. Why is it 1/5 bigger? Because if you take 1.5 and you divide it by 4, one and a half is 'We're looking at 1.5 divided by 4.
0.75, no?
Okay, 0.75.
No,
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm not gonna say.
What is it?
37
Higher,
and a half,
37.5.
37.
What is it? Ibn Naftali?
37 and a half.
37 and a half.
I have a chart here that starts with Ookla on the bottom.
Okay.
It says it's 1/32 of a lobe. And then the next item is a Katsi Toman, which is twice that. And then after that is the Toman, which is twice the Katsi Toman. So it works out that the Toman is 1/8 of a log and the Ookla is 1/32. But it also gives the the measurement in terms of a betza.
Yeah, so I've been counting it with the eggs.
The
So-
eggs. So it says the Ookla is 3/16 of a betza. And the Chatzi Toman is 3/8. And the Toman is 3/4 of a betza,
Exactly.
which is what you're talking about now.
So I didn't have that at all. I had the Chatzi Tuman was 1.5. The Tuman and the Chatzi Roiva is the same measurement, is considered is 3. And
Yeah.
I was pulling that from the bottom of the Rashbam.
Yeah. Oh. Who's to
Yeah, it's
say this?
1/5.
Who's to say this? Who's to say this chart is correct? Is what it says. So,
Where's it from? 20th of a-
DafYomi.co.
No, it could be. There is a machlekes over here in this Rashbam. There's like different girsais, but 1/20th of a kav is an uchla equals 1/5 of a log. So 1/20th of a kav. Okay, kav is 24 eggs. So is equals 1/5 is 20% of a log. Okay, good. 1/16. The uchla has 4/5 of the capacity of a half of the eighth measure. We've seen them. There's 1.5 of the kav. Yeah, it's basically what we said. So just the problem is that what's going to come out is that the uchla, which is 1 egg and 1/5 egg, is going to be very similar to the Chatzi Tuman, which is 1.5 eggs, because it's only 1/5 and a half more, which is going to be a fifth. Which is going to be a fifth. If I make a unit of 1.5 fifths, and I make 4 of those, well, where will I be holding?
1.5.
Yeah.
4.
26. So exactly, which is so then if I add on 1 more, then I'll be at 7, which is this. No, that was 7/5, not 7 1.5. Okay, whatever the case is, that's we're close enough. Mida Salah. When we get to the liquid measures, this is how he does it. He does a hin. The hin is 72. By the way, that's the same as a tarkev in dry measures. Then he does, after that, he does v'chatzi hin. He does a half a hin. What's half of 72 is 36. By the way, that's the same as a chatzi tarkev. Then he does a shlisha sahin, which is the same as a kav. It's 24. Then he does a reviya sahin, which a quarter of a hin, which that's going to be 18. 18 times 4, right? 72. You got to know that when you make pledges and for the aliyahs. And yes, and then a lug. A lug is only 6 eggs, right? Chatzi lug, it's going to be 3 eggs. Revius, a quarter of a lug, it's going to be 1.5. Shminis is the 1/8 of a lug. This is going to be, here we get even lower. Here we get to 3/4. 3/4 of an egg, right? And ve'echad mishmayna b'shminis zeu kurtav. And then you make this small, tiny measure, which is 1/8 of an eighth, But you have to divide 3/4 of an egg into 8 in one of those. Okay, it's going to be very small. 1/64. Well, the Avanami Kabai. Okay, now the Gemara goes back. I'm sorry?
I'm trying to remember how many say on
40.
eggs in a mikveh.
40 sa in a mikveh. And a mikveh in a sa is 144. So you have to do 144 times 40.
144 times 40.
Comes out to 900 and
Made the calculation.
980 or something. What was it?
For what? For what?
But that's also.
960.
44 times 4.
So 960?
That's only.
Times 4.
No, I'm not going into how many gallons it is. Yeah, when you get into
So,
but there's 40 sa in a mikveh. That's the Gemara. And then there's every
So you
sa
say
is
how
144 eggs. How big is an egg? That's a machlekes, a modern machlekes. But that itself is, yeah. What the significance of that was how many hours there are in the 40 days from Rosh Hashanah, from Elul to Yom Kippur. How many hours is that? It's like 24 times 40.
It's not exactly 24.
What is it? $480? It's 40. 960. 24 times 40 is 960. And how many eggs, I think, in the kav, in the mikveh is also something like 960. So that's 144 times 40. No, it can't be 24 times 40. So that's 5,000. So no, it was just, what was the measurement? It was how many in the mikveh? The number was supposed to be the same, and I saw this, like the Bnei Yissaschar says that that's what happens during Elul. We nullify ourselves or something in that amount, mikveh or something.
We nullify ourselves in the mikveh.
Yeah. During the month of Elul. The month of Elul is like a mikveh. Sorry?
How many
If
say
we
on
divide the 5,000 divided by 24, it's 240.
Not 240. I need 960. Yeah. Okay. Now the Gemara asks, we should make a measurement. You see, we had a measurement of a tartiv, which is 3 kav. 24 times 3 is 72. But we didn't have any measurement of 2 kav. Actually, interesting, we had a chatzi tarkiv, which was 36. But we didn't have 2 kav, which was 48. So we would jump from 36 to 72. Why don't we have a 48? Gemara says, no, that's going to be too close to the 72. 48 is too close to 72.
So you get more.
And someone could mix it up and say, oh, I'm giving you the 72, and the Israeli only giving you the 48. Where it says, Alma Tayinish Tilsa. Apparently, people make mistakes when it comes to a third. Because 48 would be 2/3 of 72. 24, 48, 72. So that extra third is that third from 48 to 72 is our concern. People make mistakes in that, and you can end up fooling someone. So Zihachi kav namila levitz, and why should we make a kav, which is 24? That you're going to mix up with the 36. 24 is 2/3 of 36. You're going to mix that up too, right? 12, 24, 36. Ella kabayim hainatayim levitz. So why don't we do the 48? Why wasn't that in the list? Because the 48 is going to be mixed up with the 36. Oh, Alma Tayinish Riva. So people don't get confused by a third, but they get confused by a quarter. Because it would go 12, 24, 36, 48. That 48 and 36 would be confusing, so we don't have a 48.
Probably be easier to
That's a
compare to
quarter.
a half. Compare a quarter to a half.
Yeah, that's what that's exactly what we're saying, is that the half of the 72 was the 36, but we don't want to have a 2 kav, which would be a 48. That would be a quarter. That's a quarter difference, which is too close.
What would they have the 24?
24 is a third instead of a quarter, which is more, right? A quarter is less than the third.
Even though the 1/3 is.
I get it, but we're doing from the outside, right? We're throwing it on. If that's the case, chatzi tuman v'chel. So why do we do a chatzi tuman, which we said was 1.5 eggs, and a nuchla, which was 1 1/5 eggs? That's really close. That's less than a quarter apart. Amarav Papa b'midas katanas b'kibu inchi. When it comes to these tiny measurements, people are really expert, and the tiny ones, it's just when it gets larger they can't tell. It's like when you go into a large room, how many people are there? There's 50 or 100. People don't even know if there's 1,000. I mean, when you go into large numbers, people can't tell the difference. But in small things, you go in, is there a minion? Is there no minion? That they can see. So, so when smaller measurements, people also, when they're selling things that are that small, it's probably very precious, you know. Shlisha sin or Reviya sin le'le'abit. So why do we do a Shlisha sin, which was a 24 egg, and a Reviya sin, which was an 18? That's too close. It says Kivin Davi Mikdash like Gazav Rabbanan. That was in the base of Mikdash, because it says Chatzia hin for this, or Reviya sin for that, or Shlisha sin, Reviya sin, the Ayel, Reviya sin, the Keves, whatever. We had those measurements of how much oil and wine needed to be for the sacrifices and libations along with the sacrifices. So that was in the temple. We don't adjust it. We're allowed to have those measurements. And it says b'mikdash nami l'kser, why don't we make a decree in the temple? Why not? It says kayanim zrizim. The kayanim are very careful. They're not going to make those mistakes, and so therefore, once it's in the temple, then it gets accepted everywhere else. Yeah, when I taught 7th grade, so we made a currency for the money, you know, like a classroom currency. So we did the prutas, and other teachers followed after that. But we tried to do 2 other things. We tried to sell lemonade using a hin, using this with cups, like how much they would get. They learned very, very fast how much they need to buy a soda, or to buy. If they don't have enough prutas, they figure it out really quick. So we would make these different measuring cups with markings and things, and we would sell people. And it just got very complicated. It was hard. And then I tried to make recess with shoyes manias, you know, with like the hours, how to, you know, in the morning I would come in, put on the board when sunrise is, when sunset is, you know, to now figure out what time recess is going to be, a third of the day or something. And just they should learn these halachic measurements. But these things fail because it gets hard on the teacher, not on the students. Anyway.
Plastic or glass, so you can see through it, but not translucent.
Yeah,
Seems like it'd be easier.
it got hard. It got hard to do the measuring. Also, it would only leave me with just a few measurings that I could do, like you know, so I wasn't gonna get a saw or an ephah, or you know, what can I sell that would be like, you know, those large measurements. Okay. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, "In my sifin alamidas yesim mishtas." It happens sometimes that they change the measurements of a certain location. How big is an ephah or something? Or so how big is you know, how much does a coin? They adjusted it. And if you do end up adjusting the measurements of your location, you can't adjust it more than a 6. 6 up or 6 down. It would probably make it a little bit larger, but you can't do it more than a 6. Yes, and you also can't adjust the coins more than a sixth. And also, when you're doing business, not allowed to make profit more than a sixth. All of these things are interconnected, as you see. So you can't adjust the measurements more than a sixth. My time. What's the reason? Is it because it's going to affect the rate of
Business days.
of inflation? It's going to create inflation. So how would that happen? Because when people bring in grain, they see that they thought they brought in a certain amount, and they pour it into your measuring cups, measuring utensils, and it comes out that yours are much larger. So they're going to raise the price more than the actual increase. They're just going to see, oh my gosh, they're going to have to raise the price. So that's going to create inflation. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, then even a sixth should be problematic. I'm sorry.
Your one place's cost could be more than the other place.
Right, exactly. The Gemara is going to bring that. Yeah, the Gemara is going to mention that in a second. Yeah, David is mentioning that you may end up losing money even when you're importing, because if the new size is different, you may end up. You will see in a second. We'll see the Gemara is going to go. Shtusnami a sixth could also be problematic. That could also create inflation when people see that it's not what the amount that they brought. It wasn't the amount of profit that they thought they were going to make. You have a different problem. The problem is like this. Let's say someone shows up and he thinks that he has 5 gallons of grain. And turns out that because of he thinks, let's say he has 6. Turns out that that when they poured it into the new measuring cups, he only has 5. Because they've increased their measurings by a sixth. So how much profit was he allowed to make? He was allowed to make 1/6. So when he was going to sell it, he's now going to end up not making the profit that he was expecting. How much off is he going to be? It's going to be 1/6 off, which that's going to be, if it's more than a sixth, then it's going to be bittul mekah. So we said that you can't increase the measurements more than a sixth because you're going to end up making the person lose on his income more than a sixth, and that's going to be, the sale's going to be void. The Rava says, if that's the case, 1 second. You're confusing 2 things. You're not allowed to make a profit more than a sixth. You can't up the price by more than 1/6. But that doesn't mean that your measurements could be off by a sixth. The measurements off even 1 drop is already a mistake, and it's a bittul mekah. It's not what I wanted. That's not the profit. That's a mistaken scale. Profit is when you tell the person, look, I need get paid for my efforts. You tell you, how much did you buy it for? I bought it for 5. Why are you charging me 6? Well, I slept.
So
That's fine.
You're supposed to tell the person how much profit you're
Yeah,
making?
it was understood back then that this is the going price, and the reason why you're paying more is because you didn't schlep over there. Someone else did. So you have to pay for that. Okay. So if that's the case, so why are we saying over here that the reason why we don't want it to be more than a 6 is because in that case it would annul the sale because the person won't make the right profit. It doesn't have to do with that. Then the sale is annulled right away because the measurements are off. It's rather we don't want the merchant to lose out because he thinks that he's getting a profit of a 6, and we're gonna give him. He's gonna end up, instead of losing, he's just gonna get exactly what he paid. The Gemara says, okay, so he doesn't lose out, but doesn't he make a profit? Zavan v'zabin tigrikri. Someone buys and sells. Is he called a merchant if he doesn't have any profit? He's a philanthropist. If there's no profit, so then that's not a merchant. We're telling him that he's gonna buy it and sell it for the same price, because they're exactly his margin is going to be the difference in the size, the increase. Elamar of Chizda Shmuel Krash Kachvidar. Shmuel was actually relying on a pasuk, the Darsh, and he taught it like this. It says Vashekel Esrim Geira. A shekel, which is a sela, is 20 geira, 20 ma. Okay. Esrim shkalim, 20 shkalim, chamisha esrim shkalim, 25 shkalim, esrim asara v'chamisha shekel, 15 shekel. Hamana yelachem is the mana. Now a mana is 25 sela. Let me explain like this. A mana is really 100 zuz. A zuz and a dinar is the same. So a mana is 100 zuz. So every zuz there's 4 zuz in a sela. So comes out that there's 25 sela in a mana.
Sela?
Yeah.
Just 10.
In a mana.
None is a dry measure.
How many zuz are in a sela?
Those?
How many dinar? 4. How many zuz are in a mana?
Before?
No, 100.
Yeah.
100. 100. So if there's 100 zuz or dinar, it's the same. If there's 100 zuz in a mana, in every 4 zuz there's a sela, it means that there's going to be 25 sela in a mana. It's like quarters, right? If there's 100 quarters in and $25, how many quarters do you have? No, that's per dollar. 4 quarters is a dollar, so $25 is going to be 100, right? So now it says mana. What comes out from this is if you add this up, if you add up the 20 coins, the 25 coins, and the 15 coins, that comes out to 60 coins, 60 sela. Now 60 sela times 4 is going to be 240. The Gemara asks, mana masan varban havu. How do you get a mana to be 240? A mana is supposed to be 100. The Gemara says, no, 1 second. We learned from this class. We learned three things. First of all, the holy mana was double the size of the regular mana. So let's cut it in half. Instead of 240, sorry? Yeah, there was the holy coin and then the regular coin. So the holy coin was double the size. So what would it be in half? No, that's something else. I forget what a golden mana is. Yeah. What? Really? Golden mana is it? No. Oh, a ma. A ma is originally there were 5 ma to a dinar. 5 ma to a dinar, yeah, which would make it 20 ma per sela. But then they switched it to 6, and that's where they switched it to 6 ma to dinar, which means how many ma would be in a sela would be 24. No, 25 was something else. 20, that was instead of 20, it became 24. From 5 times 4, it went to from 4 times 5 it went to 4 times 6. That's the 1/6, that the increase. Okay, so first where we're holding right now is that let's just divide it in half. So 240 in half is 120. So from 60 coins, it would be 30 coins. Okay, And also we learned that you can increase to the midas. But you can't increase more than a fifth. So how much would you increase? You would increase, let's do one more. We also see that you increase from the outside. So if I started at 25 coins, 25 sela. Originally we said 25 sela is 100, 25 sela is 100 zuz, right? Because every zuz, every 4 zuz is 1 sela. So 25 of those would be 100. But now we increased it. How much did we increase it by? 1/6. So what's the 1/6 of 25? You have to take 5 and add it on top. Because you divide it by 5, that's how you get a 6. So now we're on 30. So now it would be 30 coins, 30 zuz would be the mana, right? We increased it. And if that's the case, now if you double that, because for the holy coin it was double, so 30 doubled to 60, 60 times 4 is 240. That's what we're seeing over here. So where did he get this concept of adding a 6? That's acceptable. Or Shmuel says this. We see this exactly from this pasuk in Yecheskel that says how many coins is going to be in a mana. 240 is going to be a 6 more than what we had. Okay. Rav Papa Bar Shmuel Takin Kaila Bar Tlasik Fizi. Rav Papa Bar Shmuel, he arranged for a measurement. He had a measurement made that was 3 kfizi. Now each kfizi is 18 eggs, so this would be 54. Right? 18 times 3. 54. No. Yeah. 54. One second. You can't make a 54 egg measurement because that's very close to the like this over here. Chatzi Tarkev was 36. So when you make a 54, you're making a 54. The latest, the last measurement that we had was a 36. You're increasing it by more than a 6. 36, 6 would be 40 or something. You made a 54. You can't increase the measurements like that. So Amalahu, he responded, I'm not increasing the measurement. I made a new measurement. That's brand new. It's nothing to do with the old one. Well, Shadri le Pumpadisa Kablu, they sent it to Pumpadisa, they didn't accept that. Shadri le Papuna, Kablu means I guess they were going to use it. Use it or allowed it. I'm not sure which one. In Papunya, they accepted it. Karale, and they called it Ruz Papa. Ruz may mean the secret, or may mean the measurement, the advice of Papa.
They have here.
Papa's measure. Okay, now there's a mnemonic here. It's Paris. Okay. Tanarabana. Start in a brisa. These people that hoard produce, they lend with interest. They diminish the size of the measurement of the ephah, and those that raise the prices, regarding them it says, Leimar Masa Yavar Achedesh. These people say, when will the new month? When will the month pass over? V'nashpir Shevrin will make some profit. V'Shabbos v'niftach habar. And when will the Shemitah come? And we'll open up our storages. Lahaktin Efa will lessen our measurements. Lahagdil Shekel will increase our money. Velabis masni mirma, and will also corrupt the scales. And it says about them, Hashem swore that he'll never forget those things that they did, these bad things that they did. What are the people that hoard fruits? Man, who is that? To this, Rabbi Yechanan says, excuse me, stop the Eitzer Paris. You get some Lashon, some old Lashon Hara. This is 2,000 year old. Apparently, there was a guy in the store. This is an old newspaper. Apparently, there was a guy back then that was hoarding produce to raise the price. Thank you. His name was Shabsi. Okay. Yeah.
His last name was Yitzhak.
Avua de Shmuel, that means Shmuel's father, Mazbin Lupere Betara Charfa, Ketara Charfa. He would buy the produce very, very early, and he would sell it at that price, at the low price. When you buy it early, you get the low price. So later on, when the supply goes down, when the price goes up, so he would buy it early, and he would sell it at that time, and he would keep the price steady because he made it available, so for people to purchase, which keeps the price consistent. Shmuel his son, Mashi Leperi, he would actually buy it early. Masbenu Betara Afla Kitara Charfa, and he would wait till there was nothing left, and then he would sell it for the low price. So he was holding it, and they would keep the price low even at the end. However, Shalcham Yisam, they sent from Eretz Yisrael, Tabad Avdam Midibra, the father is better than the son. My timer. What's the reason? Tara de Ravach Rava. The reason is because what Shmuel did, he allowed the price to rise, and then he would come in and try to lower it. But when you try to lower the price, it doesn't always lower. You can sell it cheaper, but it doesn't mean that everyone else is going to sell it cheaper. So once the price has risen, then it's hard to get everyone else to lower their price. But if you make it available right away, then you keep the price steady the whole time, then you control the market better. If you keep it consistent, that's better than to try to fix the market price.
So here's the original Fed.
Yeah. Okay. Amarav. Rav says, I said them Kabi Yaitzer, a person is allowed to make his own produce. He's allowed to store his own produce and sell it for whenever he wants. We're talking about buying out what's in the market and then changing the price because of that. In Eitzin Peres Devarim, you can't hoard produce that is the staple, which is wine, oil, and flour. But spices and cumin, pepper, mutter, that you're allowed to do. When we say this, that you can't do it, that's that you're buying from the marketplace. But if it's your own produce, you can sell it whenever you want. Person can store produce for 3 years in Eretz Yisrael. Erev Shvius, Mighty Shvius. Year before the Shemitah year, and a year after Shemitah. B'shnei B'tzeiros, it's a years of drought. You can't even store buxer, carob. Because when any little difference in available produce adjusts the price, it becomes hard for people to purchase that.
Rabbi Smith, I thought this was saying the opposite, that it is permitted to store those years for your own use.
It is permitted. It is permitted. Those years, it is permitted. Right. That seems to be an exception. Or if it's his own. So what are the exceptions? If it's his own, or if it's the years of Shemitah, those years. Amalei Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Lepuga Shame. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says to his shamus, whose name was Puga. Go store for me fruit for those 3 years. You're not allowed to export basic needs from Israel, which is wine, oil and flour. Rabbi Yehuda ben Basir Mata b'Yayin Peshmaydas Atifla. Yehuda ben Basir says, no, you're allowed to get the wine out of Israel. It will make Israel less promiscuous. And just like you're not allowed to export from Israel to outside of Israel, you can't export to Syria either. Rabbi Mater may hifrich from one area in Syria to the one area in Israel. You don't make a profit in Israel.
The opposite. From the province in Israel to the province.
Oh, I'm sorry, from the province in Israel to Syria. You can't make a profit from these things that are basic staples: wine, oil, and flour. He did make a profit from them. That's supposed to be. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira that says that we don't want wine in Israel. It makes people promiscuous. B'shemen, what about oil? There was so much oil in his area. The Gemara Menachos talks about how much oil there was. But there was so much oil in his area that it wasn't a problem to make a profit on to export oil. Okay. Let's leave it over here.
Once Syria doesn't-
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.